The AFC East is up for grabs as the Patriots take on the Bills. The Celtics continue to win, but are they for real? And the World Cup draw was announced. Who's coming to Gillette, Boston Stadium this summer? Boston Globe Sports Report starts right now. Welcome to the Boston Globe Sports Report. We've got a great show today. Caron from NESN is going to be joining us from the MLB Winter Meetings. We'll have Danielle Dubois by later, of course, to share the fan hot takes. And Chad Finn, Globe columnist, is my number 2 chair today for the show. All right, Chad, after further review, we got to start off with football again. The Patriots were off on Sunday. They got a big showdown coming Sunday in Foxborough against the Bills. AFC East on the line. The Bills are actually favored by 1.5 points to open this game. Explain that one to me, Chad. What's going on here with this game on Sunday?
Yeah, a little bit disrespectful to the Patriots, Ben. I think it kind of shows that people might not completely trust them yet, even though they're 11-2 and will have 10 games in a row, including a win against Buffalo at their place. So, but I think it also indicates that people recognize that the Bills are kind of building up to being a real Super Bowl contender. Josh Allen's running the ball a little bit more than he was early in the season. There's a real toughness to that team. They're a team that fits the weather that they play in. They're built to play this time of year. And so there's a lot of reasons to like the Bills, even though they shouldn't be favored against the Patriots team that's playing so well at home.
It makes me think, Chad, that a lot of the people that are betting on these games, they just look at the scores and not the way the Bills have won the last few weeks. Those have been ugly wins for the Bills. I know they beat the Bengals on Sunday, but, man, they needed a total meltdown from the Bengals in the fourth quarter. Otherwise, the Bills were looking at a home loss in the snow to Joe Burrow. And then the previous week against Pittsburgh, I thought the Bills looked horrible in that one as well. So I know Josh Allen plays like Superman, but he does not have a whole lot of help. And I think the Patriots are just a much better, well-rounded team right now.
I do too. It's funny because the Bills aren't a very fast team. They're still trying to figure out who their best receiver is. Gabe Davis? I don't know. Dalton Kincaid had a really good game the first time they played the Patriots, the tight end. I think he's a guy to watch this week. Again, the Patriots have had issues with tight ends this season at times, but you could make the argument, nobody would have said this at the start of the season, Ben, or after 3 weeks, but the Patriots may have more offensive talent than the Bills do right now.
I think they definitely do, especially like every game for the Patriots, a new receiver is stepping up, whether it's Diggs or Booty or Hunter Henry or someone else. So I definitely think the Patriots have more talent. You know, when I look at the playoff field right now, Chad, I can't help but notice the Patriots are behind the Broncos right now because of the tiebreakers, the conference record, and another one, the common opponents. That week 1 loss to the Raiders is really going to come back, has the potential to come back to really haunt the Patriots and prevent them from getting that number 1 seed.
Yeah, that week 1 loss to the Raiders feels like it comes from last season. It was the kind of game that they played last year when they won 4 games and Gerard Mayo got fired after the last one. It was sort of their warm-up act, I guess, for becoming the team that they've become. But, yeah, it could haunt them. And the number 1 seed is the only one that gets a bye now, right? So that's a really valuable thing to have. And it's especially important for the Patriots as a team with a young quarterback who's sort of new to being a real contender here, first time in 5 years. It's important for them to have every advantage that they can, and that's one that they need.
Yeah, I think they need the number 1 seed. I think you don't want to go to Denver, to go in the playoffs.
Oh, no.
And Chad, right now as the 2 seed, they would play the Houston Texans, the number 7 seed in the first round of the playoffs. That is one team I want no part of, the Texans and their defense. Real quick, we got 20 seconds. Ravens and Chiefs, are they done? Is this the end of their era right now?
Kansas, it's crazy. The Patriots are guaranteed a better record than the Chiefs this year. That's nothing we would have ever predicted. I think Kansas City's done. They're like the 2009 Pats where they got to reload a little bit. The Ravens I'll write off a bit later after the Patriots beat them in 2 weeks.
Yeah, Ravens still do have a shot at that division title, but the Chiefs are looking done right now. All right, Chad, let's move on now to our hot take. And you know what? We got to find someone to blame for the travesty of a Celtics-Lakers game that took place on Friday night at the Garden. Fans shelled out big money to see the Lakers. It's their only trip to Boston this season and probably LeBron James' last game here as well. And the NBA also made the game its Friday night national broadcast on Amazon Prime. Except LeBron and Luka Doncic sat out, and the backup Lakers barely put up a fight, and they trailed by 20-plus points the entire game, and it wasn't even competitive. To make matters worse, LeBron and Luka were back in the lineup on Sunday in Philly. I guess those fans matter more than us here in Boston. LeBron deserves some of the blame. Like, you played 36 minutes the night before in Toronto, really? But come on, NBA, you're the real perpetrator here for scheduling the Lakers for back-to-back games, all but guaranteeing that the Lakers wouldn't show up for one of them. All right, coming up next, MLB Winter Meetings. Tom Caron joins us down in Orlando. We'll talk some Red Sox. Welcome back to the show. And now as we head to the interview, the MLB Winter Meetings are this week in Orlando. Who better to talk about some hardball and where the Red Sox are headed than NESN Red Sox analyst Tom Caron. TC, thanks for joining the show. I hear you got to Orlando okay, but maybe the Red Sox had a little trouble. What happened there?
Yeah, a lot of the front office, some of the PR staff, a handful of writers, they were on a plane that left Boston a little bit later. There's some really nasty thunderstorms down here last night. So they got diverted to the other side of the state. They had to sit it out about 3 hours until they got it around 1 a.m. So I believe Craig Breslow was already here safe and sound. So that's the most important thing.
Well, that's good. There's a lot of business to be conducted this week down there. Tom, first, let's just get it out of the way. Alex Bregman, where do you think things stand with him, and what's like a timeline for when we could expect maybe a decision?
Yeah, Ben, I'm glad you said timeline because I think that's the biggest thing on this story. Last year, he didn't sign until the night before spring training. And if he's looking for 5-6 years, I don't think he's going to get it quickly. And so if it plays out that way, if you're talking about another Scott Boras deal that's dragging throughout the winter, then you start to wonder, will the Red Sox make a move in spite of that? Will they decide to go in another direction? And does that close the door on Bregman? I know Alex Cora wants him. I know they'd love to get him back on a term that makes sense. I just don't think they're willing to extend on the years. And I think it's so early in the game that Scott Boras right now is expecting to get those years.
Tom, what's your sense of the Red Sox as they head into this offseason? Like, what's their sense of urgency right now for a front office to get, obviously they got to the playoffs this year, but their sense of urgency to take that the next step next year?
They've made it clear they want to add an impact bat, a middle of the order lineup, the Rafael Devers replacement that never really came through that door. And if you're talking about losing Bregman, now you really have to replace two bats. And I think there is urgency to at least get one middle of the order bat. There's been a lot of Alonso talk, obviously, though there were some rumors through the hallways last night that the Mets might be closing in on bringing him back. We'll see if it plays out that way. I do think they feel right now the priority is to get that bat. They've addressed the pitching. I don't think they've gotten the number 2 they said they want to get. So I think they're still looking at that via trade most likely, but I think there's more urgency on the offensive side because they know they need some right-handed power in that lineup.
So if Alonso does go back to the Mets, the other name you hear a lot is Kyle Schwarber. I would think that he'd want to stay in Philly given the year that he had. Do you see any scenario where the Red Sox maybe overextend to convince him to come? And if not Schwarber, then who?
Well, Cora's a big fan. And he talked about it mid-season when they faced Philadelphia. There's two things kind of working against a Schwarber fit here. A, he's left-handed. They really would like to add right-handed power if possible. And B, at this point, he's really a designated hitter. Masataka Yoshida is sitting there as your DH right now. Doesn't play, he played one game in the outfield last year. And so I just think they would like to get someone they could use in one of the corner spots on the infield. Alonso, obviously, a first baseman. A couple of these Japanese options are corner infielders. So I think that's the thing that works against Schwarber. They'd love to get him if the deal was right. I think he's going to be getting more than they're willing to extend for a DH.
Tommy, do you think the Red Sox are setting us up for, hey, we're getting Roman Anthony back? That's our big bat that we're getting this year.
Well, there'll be some of that, no doubt about that. And he's the real deal. I mean, he is. They're going to build around him next year. But I don't think they're ready to say we don't need anybody because we have Roman Anthony. We're just talking to Alex Cora down the hall a little while ago. And he was just saying on MLB Network that, when they opened the season last year, Tristan Casas was batting 4th. Rafael Devers was batting 2nd. They didn't have those guys. You're not getting Devers back through that door. You don't know what you're getting out of Casas as he comes back. I think they'd love to see him work his way back. I don't think you can depend on him. So they need a bat. I don't think you can get through this winter without adding a big bat.
All right, Tom, great stuff. All right, before I let you go, we got 3 quick hitter questions for you here. Really important stuff. First of all, one thing we've been asking all of our guests, what are you currently listening to, either like podcast or music-wise right now?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm boring. I just looked at my Wrapped music for the year, and I think it was probably the same exact 10 bands that I was listening to last year. A lot of Red Hot Chili Peppers. They're number 1 on my list just about every year. So
Nice.
we'll go with that. The Chili Peppers.
I like their station on Sirius XM.
Yeah.
Number 2, the best non-Red Sox general manager to speak to at these winter meetings.
The best non-Red Sox general manager to speak to at these winter meetings. Dave Dombrowski has always been a favorite. He's not afraid to tell you exactly what he's thinking, exactly what they're trying to do. There's some water under the bridge there between the Red Sox and Dombrowski, I know. But just a great conversation whenever I get together with Dave Dombrowski. So we'll go with Dombo.
Awesome. And real quick, what's your favorite winter meetings memory from over the years?
Oh, the best winter meetings memory, that's a really good one. I would say it was the year that they got Adrian Gonzalez. I think it's 2010. Adrian Gonzalez was the news on Sunday. And Wednesday night, the meetings are over. We're all out having dinner and drinks, and everyone's phone blows up that they just got Carl Crawford. And we all have to run away from our dinners and go back into the lobby and start doing live hits. So you love it when there's news. Last year was good, right? You had Soto. That news came out for the Mets on Sunday. Max Fried went to the Yankees on Monday. Red Sox got Crochet on Tuesday. We'll take that, but so far nothing's happening.
All right, Tom, Caron, thank you so much for all your insight from at the MLB Winter Meetings down in Orlando. Coming up next, the Celtics have won 5 straight. Were we all wrong about them? Welcome back to the show. And for You Might Be Right, Chad, let's head to the parquet. The Celtics have won 5 in a row. Had a nice win over the Raptors on Sunday night. Withstood a furious rally there by the Raptors. Chad, you wrote the other day that you still think the Celtics' best course of action is to tank this year without Jason Tatum. You still feeling that way after 5 in a row here?
No, not after 5 in a row, but certainly when they were 8-8 and tied for 10th in the conference. And I think, Ben, logically, unsentimentally, the best thing for them in the long run this year would be to be in the lottery and to get a really young player, talented player to pair with Brown and Tatum when Tatum does come back, assuming he's Jason Tatum that we know. That should be a great team, but that's clearly not happening for a couple of reasons. Joe Mazzulla is coaching the heck out of this team. Jordan Walsh has emerged as a defensive stopper who's knocking down shots. They've got a lot of guys that play with great energy. Jaylen Brown's decision-making and shot-making is as good as it's ever been. And the supporting cast around him has gotten better and better as the season has gone on. So this is a legitimate playoff team that nobody is going to want to play. Now, their margin for error is pretty thin. If somebody gets hurt that's a key player, things could go south pretty quickly. But what we've been seeing these last 5 games, and really the last 2 weeks, is it's legitimate.
Yeah, look, I tend to agree with you that I think for the long term, a tank or getting into the lottery might be better for this franchise. Jaylen Brown is not getting any younger. I think there are questions about how long the team's going to be able to carry these 2 big contracts with Tatum and Brown. So I do think maybe they're putting off tomorrow a little bit. But, Chad, I got to say, I've been very impressed with just the way they've handled themselves this season. I just spent last segment, crushing the Lakers for sitting their star players against the Celtics. You got to give Jaylen Brown and Peyton Pritchard and Derek White a lot of credit. Yep. They have played 23 of 24 games so far, or all 24 games. They've come to play every single night. They play hard. They do not take a night off. And in the NBA, I think that says something. So I don't know if this team's really going anywhere this year, Chad, but I think they're building a really good culture there that they're not taking any nights off, and they're going to be competing hard no matter who's on the court for them. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And it's taking on the competitiveness of their coach. I think we're finding out that Joe Mazzulla can coach different ways with different kinds of teams. Yes, they still shoot a lot of threes, but Jaylen Brown's great effectiveness has been the mid-range 2-pointer, which everybody says has gone out of style. But if you shoot it at a higher enough percentage, he's made it into an efficient shot. And Jaylen Brown, Tatum when he's healthy, Derek White, Pritchard, they're all guys who want to play every night. And that's a contrast to what you see in this era of getting your rest and sitting out the second game of back-to-backs and things like that. And I think that's a big part of the character of this team, too. They're ready to compete every time they take the court. No question. Although, that said, I do think these wins over the Knicks, the Raptors, yeah, these are nice regular season wins. I'm not expecting the Celtics to be able to play the same way once we get to the postseason. I feel like they might be racking up some wins here, but they deserve a lot of credit. All right, Chad, now we're going to move to this today's slam dunk. We're going to head back to baseball for a minute. And did you see on Sunday night that former Giants second baseman Jeff Kent, he got elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame? Look, Kent was a great slugger in his day, but my goodness, is it a slam dunk that the Hall of Fame and its voters continue to miss the mark when it comes to the PED guys? Jeff Kent over Barry Bonds, A-Rod, and Roger Clemens. What a joke. The Oversight Committee elected the guy, Kent, that pitchers elected to pitch to instead of the guy, Bonds, they intentionally walked every time he came to the plate. PEDs or not, Barry Bonds, A-Rod, and Roger Clemens were the best players of their era, which was totally a wash in PEDs, by the way. Let them all in, I say. This selective outrage aimed at the game's greatest players, it reeks of vindictiveness and does nothing but damage the credibility of the Hall. All right, moving on now. Let's go to the pitch and World Cup. Chad, they announced the draw over the weekend. We've got some matches coming to Boston, wherever it is, down there where the Patriots play. Chad, what's one thing, you and I aren't the biggest soccer guys, so what's one thing you've learned about the draw and the teams that are coming to New England this summer?
Yeah, it seems like a pretty entertaining draw, Ben. I mean, you got France and Mbappe, Holland with Norway, a couple of the best scorers in the world. You got Scotland coming here, which is going to be a pretty fun time for the city. I'm really curious, though, if the broadcast networks, when they're showing these games, are going to pretend that Gillette Stadium's in downtown Boston, like sometimes they do on the NFL broadcasts. Calling it Boston Stadium here is kind of a tell that they're going to pretend this is in the city.
Pretend it's Boston, but I wouldn't be surprised if we got a few shots of Patriot plays, too, to make the Crafts happy as well. One thing I found interesting about the draw, first of all, the teams coming to Boston, like a little disappointing we didn't get Brazil and Cape Verde as well with the huge Cape Verdean population, but to get England and France going to be huge. That's such an easy flight from them. Scotland as well to come over. I mean, just going to the bars in Boston and the area is going to be insane. But some of these starting times for the matches are very interesting. I believe the first match, Morocco versus Scotland, it's at like 9 o'clock at Gillette Stadium. Good luck staying awake long enough for that one. And then there's all these matches in Miami this summer. They got a pod. They've got the third place game. Miami in June and July. I don't know if you've been there. There's been like 10 thunderstorms a day down in Miami. So good luck with some of these start times.
Yeah, and they're sneaking in commercial breaks, too. They're calling them hydration breaks, which, okay, because it's going to be very hot when they're playing, but they're little 3-minute breaks in each half that they're going to shove commercials in there while the players are chugging some water. So just like Red Zone, they're adding commercials where we don't want them.
Taking over society. All right, thanks a lot, Chad. All right, coming up next on Boston Globe Sports Report, Danielle Dubois is going to come in for some hot takes from the fans. Welcome back to the show. And Chad, now it's time for Wicked Loud, where we bring in Danielle Dubois, who went out and got some hot takes from the fans. Danielle, what do you have for us this week?
We have so much to talk about, so let's get straight into it. From an email from Cooper saying that Derek White is the best player on the Celtics right now. For one thing, he makes his free throws consistently, unlike Brown. Chad, is he truly better than Jaylen Brown, or is this kind of nonsense?
You can't say that. I'm the co-president of the Derek White fan club, beloved player in my household, but Jaylen Brown's playing at an all-NBA level. He's elevated his game to a great degree with Jason Tatum out. He's sharing the ball. He's scoring 30 points a game, making great decisions. You have to give Jaylen Brown his due here as much as everybody loves Derek White.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown's been fantastic. First of all, he's never really been a great free throw shooter, and I think he's about league average this year, which is probably pretty good for him. And I don't know, Chad, at the end of the game, Jaylen Brown's who I want with the ball in his hands.
Our second Wicked Loud comes from Anthony about the Patriots.
I'm going to start with the Patriots. I think the Pats, they're not going to lose another game this season, and they're going to go right to the Super Bowl and win it all with Drake May. So, yeah.
Not going to lose another game this season, and they have the Bills and Ravens coming up. Can they do it, Ben?
Well, I will say that Ravens game in a couple weeks is not looking nearly as daunting as we thought it was. And frankly, same with the Bills game this week. But I don't know, Chad, a team with a second-year quarterback winning a Super Bowl, I just don't see it happening. When has that ever happened around here?
Anthony, who I think is a sports radio caller, I'm just going to take that as a clue, is drawing conclusions based on the 2001 season, I think, or they ran the table after being 5-5. They're not quite that good. I think they might have a real hard time with Buffalo, but it's a nice thought, Anthony.
It definitely is. Now we moved over to Saved You a Click, and our very first post comes from a mix of hockey and tennis, it looks like. This was a creative idea, taking a nice block of frozen ice. This is how Canada does tennis, it looks like. I mean, I personally couldn't ever do it. I can barely stay upright in tennis shoes and not skates. But Chad, what do you think of this fun crossover?
I think it looks more fun than pickleball, at least. But yeah, why not? Canada's pretty inventive, and they knew how to do all sorts of different sports on ice, mix and match them up. Why not hockey cross and a little bit of tennis mixed in?
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm always looking for new sports with my kids. I think we found it. I think the Skating Club of Boston needs a new feature here at their rink.
There you go. I think you have a trip planned with your family, Ben. Our second Saved You a Click comes from a unique Patriot fan in the form of a duck. This is Don the Duck, who visited places like TD Garden, Fenway, and added Gillette Stadium to his roster against the Giants on Monday Night Football. Ben, can you talk to me about what this kind of fan is? Have you seen a duck at Gillette before?
No, I'm curious. Do they sneak the duck in, or do they buy a ticket for the duck?
No clue.
Yeah, if they sneak it into stadiums, it's kind of like in Detroit where they get the octopus, they stuff
exactly.
in. But yeah, no, that's awesome. Good for the duck.
That's a good-looking mallard right there. I think probably they're charging him, knowing how things go down at Gillette. That duck's paying $1 or $2 to be there.
All right. Thank you very much, Danielle. Okay, let's finish the show with our Hail Marys. Chad, you go first.
I think the Red Sox are going to trade Jarren Duran to the Royals. It's going to be a trade Red Sox fans don't love, but they'll get Cole Reagans back. It won't just be Duran going.
I like it. A specific prediction to the Royals. All right, my Hail Mary. At least one among Mike Tomlin or John Harbaugh is not going to be coaching his team next year. It's been almost 20 years since the Steelers and Ravens changed their coaches. I think it's going to happen this offseason. All right, Danielle Dubois, Chad Finn, Tom Caron, thank you all very much. This has been the Boston Globe Sports Report. I'm Ben Volin. We'll catch you next time.